What's going on? Harrison Family Values. My name is Dre. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going right into it. What happens when a pastor can just give a large amount of money to anybody that they want? Of course, I'm talking about Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. Let me say this. Let me preface by saying this. I like what he's been doing. I believe that he is beneficial to the body of Christ, especially in America. I believe what he's doing in Atlanta is special and very different. He is coming from an angle of biblical centeredness and not necessarily from what I can gather, going by experiences to guide the faith of himself and the faith of others. He said some controversial things that might be aligned with the Bible. But recently, he has gone viral for another reason, for his generosity. And, for his generosity. Now, let me say this. Again, I have no problem with Philip Anthony Mitchell. I like what he's been doing. I like what he's been saying. No issue. So I think what's been happening is when pastors become bigger, they start amassing a cult following where no one can be critical of that person, essentially making them a celebrity or, in some sense, a god to his congregation. And I think first I would like to say, I doubt he'll watch this, but if he is watching this, I think you have to be careful when your congregation elevates you to a place of just, because apparently it's happening. And I'm pretty sure people are going to have negative things to say in the comments about this video. So again, I'm not attacking him as a person. I have nothing against him. I actually like what he's doing. However, recently a man relocated from Western Canada and drove about 7 days to join his church. The man said he sold everything in Canada and came to Atlanta to be a part of Philip Anthony Mitchell's church, 2819. Now, it sounds like noble. It sounds amazing. It sounds like God is doing a great thing in this man's life and that God spoke to him. And I am not saying I don't believe it, because God can't speak to a person to do that. But I have some questions about it. And shout out to Joseph Bahoda. He had a video and I had to stop watching it because I wanted to talk about certain things and I didn't want to talk about things that he talked about. So in case I am talking about things he talked about, I figured let me not stop watching his video. I'm going to rewatch it after this. But I had a couple of questions, and genuine questions, not questions like I'm questioning him as a person or even his character. There are certain systematic things that I saw that raise a red flag. Now, if you know me, and if you know of me for any length of time, I was a full-time staff at a church as an assistant pastor. And I understand the legal workings of running a non-profit organization in the form of a church. It's not what people think. There's like what people see as the church, the religious entity, and then there's the quote-unquote corporate entity. And when I mean corporate, I'm talking about the incorporated church that's, has a 501c3 that has legal oversight from the government, things like that. So, and finance is one of those things that churches have to be very careful of because they're liable to do something that they thought was noble, but could be pretty illegal. And I think what Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell did might fall under that. And I'm not saying that he's a criminal. I'm not saying he's a criminal. I know people, and that's not what I'm saying. But because of the kindness of his heart, he might have done something what would be considered illegal, unintentionally. Now, this man drove 7 days with his family, his children and dogs, to relocate to Atlanta to be a part of Philip Anthony Mitchell's church. He's big now. He's gone viral. People are flocking to him. People are watching him, and he endearingly calls his online community digital disciples. And I will say this is not an attack on him. There's no such thing as a digital disciple. There's no such thing as you watching a preacher online and you being a part of that church. Church, that's not what the biblical church is. That's not what the Church of Acts is. That's not what the New Testament church looks like. Thank God that we have technology where we can watch our favorite preachers or Bible teachers, but you're not a part of that church. You're a part of the overall body of Christ. But as far as the local congregation, you're not a part of that. And I think it does a disservice to people when they watch a preacher such as Philip Anthony Mitchell and he endearingly calls them digital disciples, because what that does is it gives that person the feeling of belonging, right? Oh, I belong to this church. I'm one of Philip Anthony Mitchell's digital disciples. So it creates a false sense of belonging because, again, pastor, the shepherd, Philip Anthony Mitchell, has no clue who these people are, but he gives them a title. And with title, people feel like, I'm a part of something. So I don't agree with that. If you're a disciple, you belong in a church with a local body, growing and being edified in your faith, not watching online a preacher that doesn't know who you are, that is preaching generic messages to his congregation or her congregation. You're not a part of that church. And I think he does a very huge disservice to his listeners, because I've heard him say, get plugged into a church. He knows some churches, but calling them digital disciples, I think that's a mistake. You guys can have your opinion. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I think it's a huge mistake. But he is now a big pastor, and people are going to watch him online. People, when they go to Atlanta, they're going to want to visit his church. I plan on going to visit too when I go to Atlanta. But I think what he did with this family might have not been the most wise or even legal thing to do. Let me explain. He invites this man up and he invites this man up. It's kind of odd that this specific man, he was invited up to share his testimony about relocating, but that's neither here or there. And after hearing his testimony, how he moved, relocated his family, sold everything that they had and moved to Atlanta, relocated to a different country. Now, take note of that. He was living in Canada. Canada is not the same country as the United States. So he relocated from a different country. He crossed border lines, country borders, to relocate to America to be a part of this church. And when Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell heard this, because it's an amazing story, and he also it's a predominantly black church. He also happens to be a white guy who came and relocated. I think that's neither here nor there either. People that's irrelevant. I hope that's irrelevant. And after sharing that, Philip Anthony Mitchell offered him $50,000 and ultimately a job. Okay, now there's two things there that we need to be cautious of. Any pastor watching this knows exactly what I'm saying. They're not going to disagree with me. Okay? Especially pastors who are doing it on the up and up. So he offers him $50,000 on the spot and then offers him a job. Let's address the $50,000 first. Okay? And I got my little law and order sign. So there could be some legal. I have a question about how a pastor of a church who is managing and governing donated funds from the people can, on his own, authorize a payment to whoever of $50,000. That's concerning because no one man should have all that power, right? So if he can get up in front of his congregation without discussing anything with his board, his governance, those who hold the financial part of the church accountable, he can get up and offer $50,000, and that's an excessive amount of money to be giving somebody or paying. Then I question the structures they have in place to hold Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell accountable if he has any real oversight. He got up there and offered this individual. Now, again, it could be out of the kindness of his heart, but he offered $50,000 to this individual. And if it's the church money, that's a big issue. That's a big legal issue because you're a not-for-profit organization. You got to account for all the funds. Pastors don't, they try to hide their funds, but you should be, if you're an up and up and you're ethical, you're running an ethical church, you should be able to account for all the money, right? And there's legal things that comes with being able to donate funds and stuff like that. And he gave, if it's from the church, there's going to be two parts to this. If he gave from the church's funds $50,000 without other people supporting him and co-authorizing that payment, then that's an issue. That's an issue. That means he has full authority in the church's finances to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, without answering to anybody, without accountability. And that's concerning. That's concerning because that tends to lead pastors into a path of corruption. So be cautious of that. Okay. Churches that I've been to that I trust have a good handle on financial accountability. Him being able to do that shows that there's probably an issue, a systemic issue in the church of financial unaccountability. Okay. So if he's giving church funds to an individual without there needing to have like multiple signers and stuff like that, that's an issue. That's an issue because then he can do whatever he wants with the money and nobody can tell him nothing. Okay. Now, if he's giving $50,000 of his own money, then what I'm saying is null and void because he can do whatever he wants with his own. If he's got $500,000 in the bank and he wants to give this man $50,000, I got no issues. Praise God. But when you're doing it from the church's funds, then I have an issue with that because unless I won't have an issue if the board met and said, let's give him $50,000. Let's bless him. Because then there's oversight there, right? There's a board that met and agreed together to give $50,000 to an individual. But if this man just got there and you know, he just met Philip Anthony Mitchell, and Philip Anthony Mitchell offered him $50,000 on the spot, the board didn't have a chance to meet to discuss this payment. So that's a concern. But if it's his own money, that's neither here or there. But if it's not his own money, and if it is the church's money, he did say to the guy when he said, no, don't give me $50,000, I don't want it. Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell said, don't block my blessing. Okay. If he's giving the church's money, it's not a blessing on Philip Anthony Mitchell. But if he's giving it out of his own money, by all means. Okay. Because he said, we're going to write you a check for $50,000. He said 2 checks, but I'm not sure what the other amount. The guy just wanted a job. All right. So that's the $50,000 mistake that he probably made. Okay. Which is a huge mistake. Okay. So no pastor should be allowed to give that much money of the church's funds just like that. Okay. We hear stories all the time. And this is why people think the church is corrupt. Now he gave the money to an individual, but what I'm saying is to donate. But what I'm saying is if he has the authority to do that, he also has the authority to give himself $50,000 if he wants without checks and balances. The second issue is he offered the man a job. All that is noble. What I'm saying that it might be illegal is this. He is a citizen of another country. So he offered a man a job on the spot, not knowing if he has a work visa, not knowing if he can legally work in the United States. And he's on camera. We all seen it. So now with the scope of what's happening in the government, the U.S. government, and how they're going after people, ICE is going after people, I'm not sure what relationship Canada has with the United States as far as coming in and being able to work. I trust that it's not like, I'm trusted like every other country, that person from a different country that comes in, you need a work visa. Offering a man from another country a job without knowing if he can legally work in the United States is an issue, because now you just probably put a target on this man's back. He admitted leaving the Canada, selling everything he had, coming to the United States, right? If he just got here, there's no possible way he did everything to become a citizen, or even, was able to get his work visa that fast. So That's concerning. So we're offering a man a job. We put it and live streamed it for everybody in the United States to see. And in a climate where people are being deported, like that's concerning also. And again, what I'm saying, this is not an attack on Philip Anthony Mitchell. What I'm saying is they might have made a big mistake live streaming that. I would have took it off a live stream. I would have told, okay, cameras, let's stop. Let's not live stream this part. Put up a graphic, play a video, something. I need to speak to my local congregation right now, and do it that way. But now, rightfully so, people have some critiques about what happened. And if Philip Anthony Mitchell is honest and genuine, he would say, I get it. I get it. I'm a pastor of a church, right? I answer to the local congregation and local leadership. And I did give and offer $50,000 to an individual without asking if we're able to do so. It doesn't look good. I get it. I also offered the man a job, right, who is probably what they would consider an illegal alien without really knowing if he got a work visa and all that stuff. Yeah, I probably jumped the gun here. So his $50,000 mistake could both affect the church and affect the very individuals that they wanted to bless. So I like what he's doing. I have no issues whatsoever with Philip Anthony Mitchell. I'm praying for him. Again, he's going to be under attack. And what happened at his church with having to relocate wasn't an attack. I say that now. It wasn't an attack. Okay. But he will be attacked. He's a preacher with a little street in him. Women tend to like that. He's going to be tempted with that as well. So I'm praying. I've been praying for his marriage since he started blowing up. Been praying for his marriage. I'm praying for his kids. I'm praying for safety, all that stuff. But this here, I'm going to be praying for wisdom, because it might not have been the wisest thing for him to offer $50,000 publicly like that on a live stream to an individual which could show that he has sole power of the money in that church, and people are giving. So that's money that people are giving for things to happen in the church. Like, it's one thing if, the church met and we're going to buy this individual a house. The church, the body, the board met, no issues. But on the spot, to give $50,000 of the church's funds, if that's where it comes from, that's concerning. And to offer a job to somebody coming from another country without knowing if they are legally able to work is also concerning. But I do, and again, I believe his heart is in the right place. So him doing this isn't an indictment on his heart being poor. In fact, I think his heart being pure shows why he did it. I just don't think it was the wisest thing considering the legalities and all that stuff. But it could very well be a $50,000 mistake. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this with somebody. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you're one of the people that are absolutely fond of Philip Anthony Mitchell, I am too, but probably more fond than me. Leave a comment down below. If you guys want to leave hating comments, that's perfectly fine. I will answer with respect and dignity, because Christ compels me to respond in a Christ-like manner to people with negative comments. So you can say whatever you want. I'm not going to clap back like the world does. If you agree, let me know why you agree. But what you're not going to do is, if you agree, attack Philip Anthony Mitchell on this channel. Please leave your comments respectful. Unless you're talking to me, you can be disrespectful to me. Just don't be disrespectful to Philip Anthony Mitchell. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and if you want to support the channel, hit the super thanks or the super super thanks down below. All right, guys, and consider joining the channel as well. Love you all. Thank you so much for watching. And if you do watch this Philip Anthony Mitchell, I appreciate what you do, and I'm praying for you. All right, I'm out. Peace. Peace, 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 peace.